Welcome back, folks, to the Random Video Blog, where every single Friday I, Graham, GS, and Matthews run down my rambling thoughts on the wrestling world, share a few stories, etc., etc. So, fun fact for you, I actually recorded this video blog on Wednesday, only 2 days ago, and it just wasn't that good. I mean, I wasn't really feeling that well. I haven't really felt all that well this week, and I'm feeling a lot better now, so I figured I would re-record the video, and that video really wasn't about anything anyway. And I was going to make today about my top 10 favorite WWE pay-per-views of all time, with the 5-year anniversary of my favorite pay-per-view ever, Money in the Bank 2011, the 5-year anniversary being this upcoming Sunday, the 17th. A lot of announcements coming on that Sunday, so just be a big heads up for that on the Twitter and Facebook pages and stuff like that. But I figured, I might as well just save that for another time. And instead, I mean, in that video blog, the one that I previously recorded that is now just a lost episode, basically, like I said, I wasn't feeling well, so I just rambled on for 5 minutes about the draft and everything else kind of going on right now. But I thought I would re-record it and kind of give it more of a bigger focus, more of a theme to it, more of a topic, which I kind of tend to do from the, I know it's a random video blog, and today's installment will be no exception in being random and different and unique. But today I figured I would talk about, or give my thoughts rather, on the WWE Cruiserweight Classic that debuted this past week on the WWE Network, July 13th, the series premiere of the show. And I kind of gave my thoughts on Twitter. I did a whole written review of the episode up on the website now, nextairwrestling.net. Be sure to check it out. I talked about it in a new article up also on the website right now, just went up this morning, listing 8 stars that I'm excited to see compete in the Cruiserweight Classic, including Kota Ibushi, Zack Sabre Jr., Tajiri, Brian Kendrick, Johnny Gargano, a whole bunch of others as well. So check out the list. But really, in a nutshell, like I said, I thought I would give, I'll talk about everything else kind of going on in the world of wrestling in a second, but I thought I would make today's video blog short and sweet with my thoughts on the show. I really, really liked it. I mean, pretty much every time a big match happens, a big show debuts, I'll text a few people. I mean, obviously, I'll always tweet about it, but I'll text a few people just to kind of get their thoughts on what they thought about. And everyone that I talked to in the past couple days about the Cruiserweight Classic said they freaking loved it, as much as I did, if not more. I thought the show really came off very, very well from a presentation standpoint. And I talked about this last week after they aired the bracketology episode of the network, which I thought was great too. It has this sports-like feel to it. Like, it feels real. I know wrestling is scripted, whatever, but it feels like an ESPN-like tournament where it feels like legitimate, like you actually want to see them win the trophy. And I don't know, just everything about it really comes across as major league, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't really feel like, oh, we're going to put these indie guys together. It's not really like that at all. The way they present it, the opening video package I thought was great, talking about not just these glorified indie guys just kind of wrestling for a stupid trophy. It's 32 of the best cruiserweights in the world. And as I talked about in that article that I just mentioned, I plugged at the start of the video that's now currently up on the website. I talked about how the show has been in the works for almost 4 years, well over 4 years. Like, I remember points in early 2012 reading reports about how they wanted the Cruiserweight show on the network. And you guys, for years on end, I've been doing hashtag AskGSM, I forgot to mention this, for 3 years now. We started in early July of 2013, so it's been over 3 years since we started the show. And you guys would ask me almost on a weekly basis, and you guys still do to this day. Probably the most asked ever question in the history of the show. What about the Cruiserweight division? Are they bringing back the championship? Would you want to see a show dedicated to the Cruiserweights? And I've always said yes. I don't know. I think if done correctly, it can be something good for the company. And so far, so good. I know it's only one episode, but it looks like, based off the series premiere, that every episode going forward is going to be a freaking blast. Like this show, this past week episode, we had kind of small video packages, and we had a longer, more extended, more in-depth video packages on some of the more prominent characters in the tournament last week in the bracketology episode. But we had a brief snippet of even guys like Sean Maluta or Clement Petiat, or whatever, how you pronounce his name. Guys like that we don't really know, or Ariane Davaria, I think his name is. Like, guys like that they weren't really focused on too much in the bracketology episode, but we got more of an insight on them on this show. So they kind of treated everyone equally, which was great, and all the matches were really, really good. I thought the opener, what was it? It was Grand Metalik, I believe, versus, I forgot the other guy's name, but it was a really, really good match. The second match wasn't that great. Ho-Ho Lun versus, I forgot whoever he faced too. It felt like a lot more choreographed, and I know like a lot of these matches come off as choreographed because they're all spot fest for the most part. But I don't know, Ho-Ho Lun doesn't really seem that polished. He's good, but he's not on the same level, in my opinion, as all the other cruiserweights in the series currently. But still a good match. After that, one of my personal favorites, and I forgot to mention this start, in the tournament thus far, Cedric Alexander, who I've been a big fan of in Ring of Honor over the past couple of years. The kid has untapped potential by far, and I cannot believe that Ring of Honor criminally underutilized this guy during his time in the company. He is really, really good. He's a great athlete. He's got a great look. He already has great freaking entrance music, too. He came out to an awesome song. I have no idea what it is, and I'm anxiously anticipating WWE to upload it to their YouTube channel. I don't think they will, just because he's not an official superstar yet. They kind of wait until people make their debut in order to do that. But still, I'm looking forward to seeing how he performs. I think win, lose, or draw in this tournament, this kid's going to go far, and hopefully they sign him to an NXT contract. He is really freaking good. And then the main event, like I said, Shama Luta versus Kota Ibushi was also awesome. Ibushi, I'm not that familiar with. I know he's a big star and over in Japan. I have not seen much of his work. But after watching my first match of his this past week on the Cruiserweight Classic, I know this guy is going to be a force to be reckoned with on this show. He is really, really, also really, really freaking good. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he performs. I got him winning the whole thing, if not him. Zack Sabre Jr., Cedric Alexander is my personal pick to win. Johnny Gargano's a dark horse. There's a lot of guys I would say to watch out for in this series. So basically, I just wanted to give my brief thoughts on the show. I thought the commentary, too, also, I forgot to mention, between Daniel Bryan and Mauro Ranallo was fucking awesome. Like, those two, I mean, needless to say, that's kind of to be expected just because they're both great. You know, they're both great in their own respects. But Daniel Bryan really has found his craft, you know, has really found his stride as a commentator. And that, I mean, obviously as an amazing wrestler, you didn't know how. There's a lot of people that can't make the transition from the ring to the booth. There's a whole list of guys that wrote a whole article about this not too long ago, about 10 wrestlers that didn't really make great commentators. But that's not the case with Daniel Bryan. For a guy that was never really the greatest talker in the ring initially when he first started out in WWE, or maybe even on the independents, you know, I didn't really watch him on the indies, so I can't say. But he is really groomed into a great talker. And alongside the more comfortable Mauro Ranallo, and obviously their knowledge and passion for the business really shines through. And it adds to the matches, it adds to the feel of the show, makes it feel important and exciting and engaging and compelling. So I'm looking forward to hearing them call more of the action in the Cruiserweight Classic. They're a great commentary team. Like I said, just everything about the show really feels refreshing. And like I've said, many other people have said, you know, time and time again over the past couple of weeks, this is something that would not have even been conceived 5 years ago or so. I remember like when a guy like Austin Aries, who if he wasn't in NXT, I mean obviously he's a huge star, so that's why he's not in this series, but if he was, I mean even 5 years ago he tried out for Tough Enough and didn't make the cut. And now the guy's one of the biggest stars in NXT. You know what I mean? I feel like the perception of indie guys and cruiserweights and shit like that has really changed a lot in the last 5 years. You think the business has evolved in the past 15 to 20 years? I would say in the last 5 years alone, we have made strides in terms of accepting people of all statures and races and stuff in WWE. I mean, there was a time when Japanese talent wouldn't get over. Now we have Asuka, we have Hideo Itami, we have Shinsuke Nakamura, Kota Ibushi, all these other stars that are really getting over that initially, like, oh, WWE would give them the bowing treatment like Yoshitatsu and Tajiri and Taka Michinoku and all this other racist shit. And that's not really the case anymore. They're really, I mean, honestly, like, it's more of everyone's an equal kind of thing now, with the women getting more time, and even we have more prominently featured black superstars now, like Apollo Crews, which wasn't the case many years ago, honestly. Like, I remember reading an article 2 or 3 years ago about guys like R-Truth. Like, we did, at the time, all of our African-American superstars in WWE were all jobbers. R-Truth, Titus O'Neil, David O'Tell, like all these other guys, like were all jobbers, and that's not the case anymore. I know I'm getting way off track, but I'm just saying that by and large, WWE has really come a long way in treating everyone equally. The African American superstars, the Japanese superstars, the women, pretty much everyone across the board for the most part. Not everyone's going to be a WWE champion, but they are being more prominently featured and being able to showcase their talent and not, you know, pigeonholed in one stupid dancing gimmick or a bowing gimmick or panties and, you know, bras and panties matches and shit like that. So again, I know I'm getting way off topic here. I just wanted to mention that. So overall, getting back to what I was saying before, the Cruiserweight Classic show, 2 thumbs up. I fucking love it. I think it's great. Other things going on right now, the draft coming up this Tuesday, which I cannot wait to see live. I have no idea what currently my status is for Battleground next Sunday. I don't know if I'll be working or not. I know I'm working Monday through Thursday next week, but I'm not working at night, which I'm super stoked about, so I can catch Raw, which is always cool. But I was really more excited about being able to watch the draft live. I'm working during the day, but not that night. And as I've told you guys time and time again, as you guys probably know by this point, I fucking love the draft. I think the draft is great. It was one of my favorite events of the year. when I started out watching wrestling in 2008 to 2011 when it was held, love the draft. I'm looking forward to seeing it being brought back this upcoming Tuesday. SmackDown's going live. We have Ultimate Lucha going on right now, which has been great too. UFC 200 last week was awesome as well. So a lot of cool stuff going on this month in the world of wrestling and beyond. Looking forward to breaking it down with you guys, sharing my thoughts on it as we progress. So next week's video blog, it's on the 22nd. I forgot. I had something scheduled for that day. I'm not exactly sure. I usually, like I said, I change my plans. I change my topics, like literally like the day of when I talk about shit. So we'll see what the week brings. I might do that list. I'll definitely do it at some point. My top 10 favorite WWE pay-per-views of all time, or at least in my time as a fan. I might do that next week, something else, if something else huge happens. Maybe my thoughts in the draft, my top 5 favorite draft moments of all time. Who knows? I'll talk about that next week here in the random video blog. And as the road to SummerSlam progresses, like I said, we got the draft coming up, Battleground. But to me, the light at the end of the tunnel, the biggest prize to be won in this whole world of wrestling going on right now, this whole recent revolution of great wrestling across the board in every company, is SummerSlam weekend, which I will be at for TakeOver, SummerSlam, and Raw 3 days in a row. It's going to be great. Very much looking forward to attending all 3 shows in just a mere matter of a month. So with that being said, guys, enjoy the weekend. I'll be camping this weekend with John Knapp. We're recording part 2 of the podcast, which I posted yesterday. It initially appeared in full on Wrestle Rant Radio. I was sick, like I said, so I didn't want to record a full-on hour show. But it worked out perfectly because I'm feeling a lot better now, and we can record part 2 without any issue this weekend when John and I hook up camping, and hopefully we can bring the PS2 and finish out our 15 years of SmackDown versus Raw GM mode. And we'll talk about it more on the podcast, and I'll probably post part 2 either on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, probably Wednesday. And then Wrestle Rant Radio moves to Thursdays in just 6 more days. So that being said, folks, as always, thank you for your amazing support. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is amazingly appreciated. You guys are awesome. Enjoy the weekend. Get ready for the draft, baby. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.